Yo, what's up, y'all? It's me, DMC, and the place to be. And the only place for you to be right now is right here on I Believe TV with the one and only Professor X. Because I believe that it's going to go down right now.
Hi, welcome to I Believe TV. Today's episode, I'm here with Dr. Wise Young, world-renowned scientist on stem cell research. Dr. Wise, with today's stem cell research, a lot of things have changed over the years. Can you please tell us where we're at today with stem cell research?
Well, stem cell research lost nearly 10 years, as you may recall. Of the last 8 years, almost nothing happened in the United States when it came to getting stem cells for therapies. We lost that much time, and we need to make up for that lost time. Now, they're just as promising as ever, but we don't know a lot. We currently don't have a single source of what is called GMP, good manufacturing practice cells for transplantation. We can implant umbilical cord blood cells, we can implant bone marrow stem cells, but in terms of any other kind of stem cells, we're not yet ready. And we're going to have to play a lot of catch up here. Okay. I think the second important thing is the development in stem cells is the discovery of IPS, the induced pluripotent stem cells. Now, this was predicted when we first discovered stem cells. After all, a stem cell is just a cell expressing some genes. If you put the right genes, get them to express in a cell, that cell will become a stem cell, and this turned out to be true. These are called induced pluripotent stem cells. I can take some skin, treat it with some genes, and make that into a stem cell. So for the first time, we're talking about personal stem cells for people. But the problem is, there's no good business model here. If, let's say, it costs $100,000 to make a stem cell personally for you, to treat 1% of the people of the United States, it'll cost about $500 billion. We can't. So the only business model that's possible, that is affordable today for stem cells, is to make a library of stem cells that can match, that can be used in 90–95% of the people. So we should be able to do that by taking maybe 35,000 or 40,000 people's stem cells or skin cells and make them into IPS cells, induced pluripotent stem cells, and then transplant it into people. But this is really exciting because this means if we can do that, it will be a source of cells that can be used to treat 90–95% of people. That means we can use the same cells to treat the brain, the spinal cord, eyes, for blindness. It could be used to treat bone marrow for people who need it, if they have cancer. It could be used for almost everything that stem cells have promised for. So we're right now on the verge of getting to that stage where we can apply these stem cell therapies. We need to have a source of cells, and we need to actually test these cells in people.
That's interesting. But what about clinical trials? Like, where are we at today? Because many years ago, there was no clinical trials. Are there any today, or is there any hopes for any in the future? Please tell us about that.
Well, just like spinal cord injury research, stem cell research, the last 8 years has been a hole. We've had almost no clinical trials for spinal cord injury in nearly 8 years. Most of the clinical trials that have been going on have been on therapies discovered 10 years ago. None of the modern therapies are now being tested in clinical trials. There's a huge pileup of therapies that I think are promising for people that need to be tested in people, but there's not enough money, not enough organized clinical trials ready to go. So in 2005, I began doing something that I promised Sang Lan, the young Chinese gymnast who broke her neck in 1998. I promised her that we would start clinical trials in China. little did I imagine that here I'm doing clinical trials in China, I find out that it's the only clinical trial network in the world for spinal cord injury. And the amazing thing was when word spread in the US that we're doing a clinical trial network in China and that we're starting clinical trials there, then people in the US said, well, how about us? Can we travel to China to take part in the China Spinal Cord Injury Network? And I said, come on, this is not right. To send Americans over to China to partake in clinical trials of therapies that we develop in the United States, I mean, that's ridiculous. So starting last year, we developed the SCI Net USA, the Spinal Cord Injury Network USA. So this, we're trying to now get going. We need to raise the money to make sure that the trials are done here. And by the way, what's the difference between China and the USA? That difference is money. Not that much money. To do a clinical trial in China, we may require about $3 million. In the US, we may require $30 million. But think of how much they're spending on everything else in this country. I mean, we should be able to raise $30 million. So we conceived of this idea of trying to fund this by asking each family with spinal cord injury to donate $1 a day. This is just $1, please. And if 10,000 families give $1 a day, that's $3.65 million per year. If 100,000 families decide to do this, that's $36.5 million per year. That's enough to cover all the clinical trials we need. So what we're asking people to do is to commit $1 a day to making sure that clinical trials go forward in the United States. We are planning a trial, hopefully by the end of this year. This will be in Austin, Texas at Brackenridge Hospital. And what we're planning to do is to transplant umbilical cord blood mononuclear cells. These are the stem cells of umbilical cord blood cells. And we want to test increasing doses of this in patients to make sure that it can be done, to make sure that they're safe, and finally, it might be effective. And we're planning to do 20 patients in Austin, Texas. By next year, we're planning to do phase 3 trials in both China and in the US. So the phase 3 trial in China will have about 400 patients. Every patient will get umbilical cord blood cells. Half of them will receive lithium and the other half will not receive lithium. Lithium, we found out, stimulates the stem cells to produce growth factors that will stimulate regeneration. In the US, what we're planning to do is we're planning to have 4 groups of patients in a trial that is about 240 patients. That's 60 patients per group. So one group will receive lithium only, one group will receive the umbilical cord blood cell transplants only, one group will receive both the transplant and the lithium, and then finally one group will receive the rehabilitation only. Now people will say, oh, only 1 out of the 4 groups will receive both umbilical cord blood plus lithium. But what we're committing to is that if we should find that umbilical cord blood plus lithium is effective, we will make sure that everybody else in the trial will get the therapy. And so, what we need to do is to test these therapies in the most scientifically rigorous way possible, so that if it doesn't work, we need to know for sure it does not work, and we can say to people, don't waste time on this anymore. Umbilical cord blood, don't do it. If it works, we want to be able to say this works, and we want to convince everybody in the world that this works, so doctors will start applying this and everybody will have access to it. This business of doing it here and there, one patient at a time, another patient, oh, it works for me or it doesn't work for me. I mean, that doesn't convince anybody, and it wastes resources. Clinical trials have really 2 purposes. One is to show that a therapy works, but it also has the purpose of showing that something doesn't work if it doesn't work. So we stop wasting our time and resources. And so this is the goal. By the end of next year, that's by the end of 2011, I'm hoping that we will be able to say umbilical cord blood stem cell transplants into the spinal cord, they work or they don't work.
You host the open house every month. Can you please tell us about that?
it started off very innocently. People were just dropping in and saying, "Hi, Dr. Young, tell me what's up." And I'd end up meeting people, 20, 30 people a month. And I'm saying, hey, why don't we just gather everybody together in one place one day? And so we chose the first Friday of every month to have an open house. So everybody with spinal cord injury, interested in spinal cord injury, whatever, can come. They get a tour of the lab by our students who will explain what every part of the lab is, and they can see what we do, and we're wide open. And then I give a 1-hour lecture updating people on the latest in spinal cord injury research. And we don't cover just what we do, but what everybody in the field does. And then we open it up for questions. So from about 7 o'clock until maybe 10 o'clock, sometimes to midnight, people ask their questions, and I try to answer the best as I can. I think over the last 12 years, I estimate probably as many as a couple of thousand people have come, maybe 5,000 people or more. And a lot of people come, they caught their hope fix. They want to hear what's happening. And I'm, my first goal is to be as honest as I can. I mean, if I'm discouraged, I say so. If I'm really excited, I say so. And I want to tell people that things are happening and what they can do to make it happen faster. And that's the purpose of the open house.
We the New York Warriors. Just gearing up, man. We fly out on Thursday to go to Nationals. This is the first time the New York rugby team's been going to Nationals in I don't know how many years, probably about 11 years. So, it's gonna be rough out there. Cats gotta really watch and see how rugby is played, because these boys are serious. What we going to play? These dudes are serious. All across the country. They coming, and everybody coming with the same agenda, to destroy anybody who got that ball. He's strapping me in the chair right now because you want to stay as tight as possible in the chair, so when you hit somebody or when you got to make a turn, your chair is a part of your body now. These are some palm flex gloves with the rubber coating, so you hit them wheels and it, you get to cranking it up, so it keeps you tight on your wheels when you pushing, so you can get that ultimate speed coming out of you. My chair right here, this is an offensive chair. I'm a ball handler. I'm the dude that try to get up the court and score the goals. You have an offensive chair and a defensive chair. Of course, this is the offensive, meaning in the front of the chair we don't have an extended bar in front, as you'll see on another chair. We have an extended bar. Mine is solid, so I can bang and keep it moving. See, his chair is designed to stop me. My chair is designed to break off. So if he bring it in. If he brings his chair in and clip me, right? You got that? You can see that right there? If he clip me right in there, it's hard for me to get out. I got to take him with me or try to back out. And while I'm backing out, he's steady backing into me. Right. So the length of his chair is longer than mine, because his job is to strictly stop me from moving and scoring that goal. High rollers in the building, man. That's what we do, man. This is not one level of what we do. We're well-rounded in the things that we do between rugby and rapping and doing acting, comedian. Brother Matt, can I get a strap on this foot for me, please? Just one of the coaches here, Brother Matt, man, you know, when we fall out the chair or whatever the case may be, he come over, and you know, he don't really have any mercy on us. They, you know, we paralyzed, he'll just pick us up, throw us back in the chair, and throw us back on the floor.
That's all you
Time
do.
to get it back in, you know, they don't care.
Wow.
You know, it's the able body, man, you know
This
what
is a
you
rough
need.
game right here.
Yeah, this me right here. We're about to definitely get it in and make it happen.
To Wise Young, whose deep and abiding commitment to spinal cord injury research exemplifies the best human endeavor and virtue. Wise Young.
I love hugging Barry because he's really the most huggable man. I'm going to do something unusual. I was going to give a talk and then show a video, and then I realized that what I should do is to write up what I'm going to talk about. Oh, so that's my computer talking. So, so what I did was I wrote up the talk so that if anybody wants to talk, I can email it to them. So this is the text of my talk. I will not read it off to you. I just wrote it just an hour ago, just typing it out. And then after the talk, I want to show you a video of my very good friend Richard Gaskin here, who did something in our center about last summer that was really, really remarkable, and I want to share that with you. So today, what I want to do is to talk to you first about the China Spinal Cord Injury Network and the Spinal Cord Injury Net USA, SCI Net USA. These are two clinical trial networks that we began, and I want to tell you a little bit about the history of them. So in 1998, a year after I came to Rutgers, a young gymnast by the name of Sang Lan broke her neck in the Goodwill Games in New York. Her parents flew in from China. She was part of the Chinese national gymnastic team. They flew in from China, and even before they went to the hospital, they came to Rutgers to ask the question that all parents ask. Is there hope? Will there be a cure? I told them at that time that I believe that there will be a cure, that we're working hard to make it happen. And we became good friends with Sang Lan. In fact, she, on her first trip out of the hospital, she came to visit us here at Rutgers. In 1999, when she was returning back to China, we held a dinner for her in Chinatown. At the dinner, she cried. So I asked her, why? Why are you crying? She said, if you discover the cure in America, how will it come to China? So I told her at that time that doing clinical trials was the only way, that we have to do clinical trials in China, and then the cure will come to China. And then I promised her at that time I would do my very best to make clinical trials happen in China. So in 1999, fall of 1999 that year, I went to China for the first time in my life. I'd never been to China before. My Chinese is not so good. I gave a series of lectures in China sponsored by Pfizer to encourage Chinese spinal surgeons to use a drug called methylprednisolone for spinal cord injury. This is a drug that in 1999, my colleagues and I showed to improve neurological recovery when given to people within 8 hours after spinal cord injury. Now, in 1999, China was a very different country from what it is now. It was still a nation of bicycles. The bicycles swarmed across every intersection when you went, and the cars just inched along, surrounded by all these bicycles and people. Spinal cord injury was relatively rare in China in those days, perhaps 6.5 cases per million, compared to 35 cases per million in the United States. Due to limited emergency services and post-injury care, many people died after spinal cord injury. So for 4 years, I went to China several times a year, giving lectures to doctors who took care of people with spinal cord injury. I told them about the promising therapies that restore function in animals, and I exhorted them to do clinical trials. In 2003, I met a mother of a spinal injured teenager from Hong Kong. She offered, she's quite wealthy, so she offered to pay me, and she didn't say exactly how much, but she offered to pay me to cure her son. And I said I didn't know how, but we can work together to do clinical trials to find out how. And I asked her to join me in a partnership to form the China Spinal Cord Injury Network. She introduced me then to a man by the name of Paul Tam. He was the pro-vice chancellor of the Hong Kong University Medical Center, and she arranged for us to meet the vice president of health, Wang Jifu, in Beijing. He's the senior vice minister of health in China, and Professor Tam offered the support of Hong Kong University, and Minister Wang gave us his blessings to start a clinical trial network and exhorted us to do ethical research. In 2005, we held our first International Spinal Cord Injury Treatment and Trial Symposium, as well as a fundraiser in Hong Kong. And I remember bringing a young man from New Jersey to that fundraiser. He is in this audience, wearing a hat and trying to hide his face right now. Richard Gaskin, or Professor X, as he called himself, performed in front of a large audience in the Academy of Medicine building where we held our fundraiser. I suspect that many in the audience, including some of the wealthiest people in Hong Kong, had never heard rap before. And he sang a song to Superman, to Christopher Reeve, in front of this audience. And Christopher had tragically died just the year before. And Richard, who I think was inspired by Christopher's death, wrote this incredible song. and I urge you to listen to it. It's actually on iTunes. It's a wonderful, wonderful song. And so we started a new campaign. It's called JustADollarPlease.org. And this campaign has even its own rap song sung by our own Richard Gaskin. Yeah.
All right, just hit a beat. Now just say something. Yeah. Everybody inhale, let's take a deep breath before a clinical trial. Aim to take a step closer and closer to the day of the cure. Every man, woman, and child can walk the world. Why should we have to leave the U.S. and go overseas for a spinal cord test? Let's do it here. If we live in here, raise $1 out your pocket, throw it up in the air. Say, just $1 and the rest will follow. If we come together, we can make things better. With $1 bill, y'all. $1 bill, y'all. $1 bill, y'all.
Professor X, we've got a millionaire who won't donate $1 million. What are we going to do?
I got an idea.
Let's do it.
Everybody inhale, let's take a deep breath for a clinical trial. Aim to take a step closer and closer to the day of a cure. Every man, woman, and child can walk the world. Why should we have to leave the U.S. and go overseas for a spinal cord test? Let's do it here. If we're living here, raise $1 out your pocket, put it up in the air. got our wheels on spin all across the nation. Pulling out a dollar just to add to the pot. To the rest of America, a million on top. A meaningful cause of investment, as we just asking for a piece of a fragment of what you may pay for a pack of cigarettes. Just imagine every puff needs one more step.
Just $1 and the rest will follow. If we come together, we can make things better with the
I got this idea, yo. Instead of us going to a millionaire and asking him for $1 million, won't we go to 1 million people and get $1 for each of them?
Cat Claw and PB, you off the tongue. Along with Patricia, Tim Bennett, and Dr. Wise Young. Working together to get out of these chairs with $1 million deep and $1 in the air. Waving side to side and let the dollar rain towards the end of others' chronic pain. Spasm chill, dyslexia threat. Stop waking up at night in a cold sweat. For the dream to come true, we have to give it a try. Many willing to fight every day and night. Especially the vets to every little Girl Scout. High